I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Father, we give thanks for the opportunity for us to be here and to think and plan and strategize. Lord, we ask that you give us direction as we do what's best for our county. We ask that at all times you'd help us to understand who you are in our own hearts. We'd understand the love that you have for us. We ask these things in your name. Amen. That's what we're doing.
Should have all had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Fred?
We have to exit the meeting, right?
Yeah, we have to exit that meeting, join the public hearing for solid waste, and then when we're done with that, it comes out of that one.
I make a motion to exit the regular meeting and go into a solid waste budget hearing, budget special joint session.
I'll second.
Budget hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Kathy second.
You had a motion.
And a second out there. And a second. Kathy seconded.
All those in favor? Opposed? Hands don't make much noise.
Are we in the public hearing?
Thanks.
Yes. Yep. We're official.
All right. Good morning. My name is Ann Razzo. I'm the attorney for the Adams County Solid Waste Management District. We're here today in the format of a public hearing for presentation of the district's 2025 proposed budget. The purpose for the solid waste district even presenting its budget to county council is of a statutory nature. So the solid waste management district is its own taxing unit. It sets its own rates, it sets its own budget. But the Department of Local Government Finance requires an annual presentation to the county council for budget confirmation. So I believe that Christy Stuckey, office manager, and Jeff McIntosh have provided, district manager, have provided a copy of the budget form 1 budget estimate to council for review and consideration. And we are requesting confirmation of the proposed budget to check the box required by Department of Local Government Finance and getting our budget approved. So, thank you.
Just for the record, like last year, is there again, like what's the overall increase or?
It's all, what it is we raise the wages 3%, just like try to follow the county's guidelines, what they do. So we raise the wages 3%. You can see in here any questions we have. Overall, we raised our budget almost 4.5 or 5%, close to 5%. That's our total budget. We have a total increase of $91,575. Some of them here are 100 series. We raised some of those. You can see the 3%. We got uniforms that we raised. We provide uniforms for them. So there's some within that we had to raise a little bit more because the cost of the uniforms are going up. Office slot supplies, we did a 5% increase there. The 300 series, there's equipment repairs, seems like those always go up a little bit higher. We're getting a lot more equipment, so we actually spend a little bit more for that. You can see here on the waste hauling is a 5%, and then outside airspace, which is Jay County, where there's a cap on that for 5%, so that's why we put that in there. They're not.
And you guys are, income is 100% property tax driven, is that right? Or do you have income from other places?
Yeah, from like revenue streams from service fees.
The user
for
fees, okay.
utilities.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say your cap is gonna be a 4% increase in property tax revenue this year because that's just what it is. So if you're going up 5%, but if you got other revenue sources, I'm sure you guys mapped all that out.
And the hauling contract and the airspace, essentially the amount of space that's guaranteed for Adams County at Jay County Landfill is based on a 5-year contract with Waste Management and with Luganville Trucking for the hauling. And those have 5-year renewable extensions associated with those contracts. But then there is a cap on the amount of the increase on an annual basis, and it is tied to the annual CPIU, so the consumer price index for waste management and hauling kind of services. So we know for budgeting purposes, we can budget for a 5% increase and know that that's the maximum amount it's going to be, but it is tied. We'll look at that rate at the end of November when it's posted, and we'll know it in December. So it could be less than 5%, but it's still being calculated. So it's just a formula used within that contract.
There's a 5-year contract, but it's manipulated every year.
Is adjusted for increases every year, but the district has a cap that assists the district and then municipalities that are served by the district in their budgeting efforts.
Okay.
So everyone knows that it's not going to go above a 5% increase. So it helps with the last few years and inflation rates. It could have been significantly higher, but for having those caps on that contract.
Just as Ann said, as if you guys remember, it's really the first to approve or disapprove. It's the vote's on. Yeah, so.
Yes.
That's
So
I mean, the reason I ask those questions is just so people that hear.
I know, I understand, yeah. So, yeah, the board has already approved all this. But it's just so you guys make it. I know. I mean, you should have done just
Yeah, the reason they have to come before us, my understanding is because it's a property tax rate, but it's not, no one on the board is elected. They are elected, but they're not elected to the board. That's a different position, so,
we have one off elected
yeah.
position, yeah, the board.
Do we need a motion for that, or is this not required?
We would request that there be, and that the council approve and confirm the district's already approved budget.
Make a motion to approve the solid waste budget as presented. Yeah, second.
Motion to approve, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much for your time. this
Thank
morning.
you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can make a motion to close this and open the public hearing on the budget.
Coordinate a motion to close this thing and then. Who said second first?
Good job.
Oh, you don't said it.
All those in favor?
Oh.
Opposed?
Now we just voted to open the public hearing for the Adams County budget. Well, first in the minutes. Yeah. We kind of forgot about that because they were already sitting.
Yeah.
May want to, this public hearing's open, we can do that.
Yeah, let's wait till wait after we close the public hearing. He's right.
Yeah, I put
We've got to
the
get it back into the regular meeting after the.
cart before the horse, so let's approve the minutes from the last meeting.
No, let's wait on that because we're now in the public hearing for a budget.
I thought you wanted to do this.
I did, but we now have to wait because we already entered
Right?
the budget hearing. We'll do that after. So the budget public hearing is open for any
Public comment.
public comment. There is no, then close it and go on.
Public is invited to.
No comment. Hey, how you doing? Okay, then we need a motion.
Having not heard any, I just want to point out some positive things about the budget since it doesn't have anyone doing it. This budget that we spent a lot a lot more time than I would say normal getting ready for and preparing and working on. Basically comes out to a 2.6% decrease over last year's budget. So, you know, almost 3% inflation, and we still had a 2% decrease. 2.6% decrease. County general decreased by 3.9%, almost 4%. So this was excellent. It was a lot of work. It's been a long time coming. We're really proud to see that happen. It's just been a lot of work. So I just thank you for everybody who's gone along with all this and all the department heads who worked with me. I know Brad, we talked a lot together. Just a lot of good work this year. So we appreciate all the work.
That's a decrease from last year's budget,
Yeah.
0.6%. Okay. Wow. Is that the first time for a decrease from year to year?
That I know of.
Really?
Last year we had a 1% increase, which was unheard of. This year we got decreases, so it's great. That doesn't just happen. That takes a lot of work.
If there are changes that you know of now, get those to us today so we can get that and be ready to go in October. Actually approve the budget. Budget. Make a motion to close the hearing. Wait, you need a motion for that? Yeah, crazy, but you need a motion to close, enter. So now we're closing.
I'll make a motion to close the budget hearing.
Second. John, all those in favor? And
Aye.
aye. As part of that motion, re-enter in the regular meeting.
Re-entering the regular meeting, yeah.
Okay, now we can do that.
I just did.
Now we can do,
Suck it up.
yeah, both first and then next. Motion to open, close and open. All those in favor?
Aye.
One time a year we do this. Yep. Might do it again in October. When they have to come back and get us food. I think, anyway, minutes you do next, and then we'll move on to the regular. Ready for this? Yeah, start a regular meeting.
Okay.
He made a motion to close and re-enter our regular meeting, so we are now in our regular meeting.
got your name.
And ready for the minutes that I said we were ready for earlier, but we weren't.
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Junior.
Second. All right, we'll move. Fred? Corey and Fred? All those in favor? Opposed? That is on your signature, so. So we're done with the hearing of the budget. Commissioner Jackson? Not here. Yeah, they're over there. Okay.
Ready for the commissioners, I think.
Stan, or any of the commissioners ready for your comments, discussion on county-owned garage?
Discussion on the garage for, council on aging meeting. We are still waiting on bids, to find out the final number, but we are going to have that discussion as far as how to fund that garage. We feel like we'd like to recommend, that the county pay for that garage since it's on county property, and then work out a lease agreement with council on aging, for their vehicles. But we have strongly supported that program for many years. It's a 5300 program, and now a 5310 program for public transportation. We'd like to continue to support that because it's definitely positive economic development benefits. But along with just a positive thing for
community corrections and everybody else that uses public transportation. Michelle, do you want to?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, come on up, step ahead.
So I do have handouts. I will give you guys a quick 8-month checkup, just like I did the commissioners last week. Things are going phenomenal for Council on Aging with the, welcome Lenny,
Thank you.
with the expansion. I think there's two
There's
there.
two there.
Yep. You can just see just a quick rundown of the numbers. I don't know if you have that from last time.
They tell you what they're using the bus for? When they
Yeah,
send-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Is it required, or they just,
yeah, it is. Just so that we know what the trip purpose is. So those are the main categories that we group into. So if you notice, the trips are up in the first 8 months, over 1,000. Biggest one on there, in my opinion, is the employment. That's something we've never been able to do before. Given 1,300 trips in the first 8 months for employment, helps the employers, helps the individual, and helps their family. Been a huge blessing. Every week we gain more and more people for employment work. The main reason we expanded our hours from 8 to 4 to 6 to 6 was to hit both ends of the employment spectrum. For the most part, we can take people and pick them up as long as they fall in that 12-hour block. Huge blessing. We just started picking up a group of 4 students and 2 teachers that live out, and they're an Amish crew or an Amish family that live out in the country. And one of the teachers is in a wheelchair, so a blessing for them. That wouldn't have been something we could have done before. Is transport children, so now they're able to get back and forth to school, and there's no issues with using a wheelchair. You can look at the fares. We had a question last week. Last year, we had the unfunded at 2,200. Now that age group falls into the public fares of the 0 to 59. So you can see that that's substantial. Being able to collect fares has helped tremendously instead of just asking for donations. We do ask for donations for our seniors because we do get some reimbursement from the federal government, but overall, it's been really successful. We are, I would say, 98% able to meet the needs. And the only reason we would turn someone down is if we didn't have any availability, the buses were already full. So that's really the only reason that someone's not getting to ride with us is either they call too late or we're just full or we don't have the drivers. And then you can look at the breakdown, riderships up almost 100 from 2023 to 2024. So that's exciting too. Every month we pass the month before, the previous month, because the word's getting out, they're being the vehicles and they know that we're a reliable service. So I just wanted to say thanks to you guys for supporting us all these years. Commissioners have been very supportive. Everyone has been really supportive. And on a positive note, NDOT reached out and I had applied for our 8th vehicle, which was my goal moving into this year, what we didn't quite hit. And they are letting us we get it today, our 8th vehicle, which is a small transit with a hydraulic lift, and it's a year early. So what a blessing. They had extra 2024 money that he asked if I'd be interested. So absolutely. So he put forth 80% and then I'm paying the 20%. So kind of going along with that, a couple years ago, I started the process for the garage. And I had $75,000 set aside of seeded money that I had received in preparation for public. I've pretty well gone through that because of the expansion. Our payroll is about double. We have gone through our fuel and operation budget already for the year. Everything's just more expensive, and the more people we serve, the more expensive it is. So you guys were able to, we were able to get ARPA money through the county to buy that small plot of land, 0.6 acres on the Merit Center property. So there would be no issue down the road as to, you know, if we only had a set amount of lease, well, then we can't access the garage if we wouldn't have that office space anymore. Now it's for sure that that land is county owned and you guys have control over that. So there's never going to be an issue as to not having you. Because it was our only hydraulic lift at the time, and then we couldn't transport that person to dialysis because that's the only vehicle they could use. I think it's pretty low to steal off a handicap van, but we've had damage from snow plows. I mean, you name it. We've been in business 51 years, so you can imagine the things that have happened. I was just hopeful that with it being county-owned ground, that it could possibly be a county-owned building with us being able to utilize it. And if Council on Aging and Adams County Transit would cease to exist, then you guys would have it and have it back. I just want to get the vehicle safe, secure, and warm. For those hydraulic lifts, so now we'll have 3 as of today. It takes a good half hour for those vehicles to warm up, to become operational for those lifts. I'm wasting so much fuel. I'm wasting driver's pay on that half an hour. I would just love to get them in a 60-degree garage so that they can just hop in and go and we can serve more people than having to waste time letting it warm up. I do have a handout and I'll give it to you guys. I do have, if you guys want to see a rendering of the garage, the plans, our plan has been, it's an 8-bay garage. And 4 of the bays are larger to accommodate the transits and 4 of the bays are smaller to accommodate the minivans. We did that to save money. My original plan was to have all 8 bays, the big bays, but that makes sense. I'm just thankful for your support and I'm hopeful that maybe you guys will continue and help us protect our investment so that we can continue to serve. On a positive note, NDOT gave us $50,000 this year and $50,000 next year because we're in the demonstration phase. I asked the manager of the program if he would consider giving us $100,000, and he said it had never been asked for before, but if I put together a letter and had the commissioner sign it, he would consider it, and he gave it to us. So next year we'll get $100,000 instead of $50,000. We've already went through, we didn't even get enough reimbursement for the second quarter. So quarters 3 and 4 with NDOT at $0. So next year, hopefully that $100,000 will at least get us through 3 quarters. And then in 2026, huge pot of money that's going to become available towards us, federal and state. So questions for me? I know I talk fast, I'm sorry, but I love this program. You guys know that. And I'm just happy we're able to expand and serve so many people.
It sounds like a win-win if I'm hearing all this right, because your investment gets protected. Doesn't really cost us anything. We basically are putting up the money up front, but then it comes back in the form of a lease. So we're not really, as long as commissioners negotiate a, fair lease agreement, and then you're saving money on your labor costs in the morning. So sounds like a great deal all the way around to me.
I think that's definitely our vision is that we would own the building, lease it back to Shell's organization. We own the land already, so it probably makes sense for us to build the building and then put together, structure a lease back to the organization. Obviously, then if something bad would happen, we would have the building and the land, but we don't expect that's going to happen.
Me either.
Just have to decide where to pay it from.
Right, we just have to figure out where the money's coming from. And when the time is right, we'll obviously come back to council and figure out where to find the money once we've got a firm budget for construction of the building and whatnot.
Yeah, the original estimates for the garage, which was half the size, was 75 a couple years ago, and now the last numbers that Mark Wynn had was 155. So it's expensive for you guys. Everything's gone up so much.
Yeah, it'd be smart to us own it versus to chop it up, land and buildings. It'd just be messy. And the lease, I assume, would be the $1 a year type thing.
We really haven't discussed that. We'll figure that out, John. I don't know whether it would be a market rate lease or so. I would assume it'd be some kind of an advantage lease, but I don't know what it's like. We'll figure that out.
I don't know if they need any kind of approval or just let them know to carry on if they're,
Right, yeah.
I don't think.
No, there's nothing that.
because they don't have the quotes or anything yet, so you'll be coming back to them. You're just making them aware.
The engineering estimate of 150, is that what Mark said?
Thank you.
And we have state design release. Took a couple, you guys know how that process works. That took 3 months to get that. You had to go back and forth. So we're ready to go once the bids get out. And I thought the bids were going to go out a couple weeks ago, but I don't think they're quite there yet. But a 2-week bid turnaround process, and I would love to have it built by winter so that we're protected.
Is this organization I should know this, but is it a municipality underneath of some kind of government entity or is it its own nonprofit?
We're our own non-for-profit.
You said you did have to turn some away because you didn't have enough buses. It was 8th.
Yes, that'll help tremendously. Yeah. Because it seats 2 wheelchairs and 9 ambulatory, so that's gonna open up some more doors.
On your insurance for transportation vehicles, is that part of the county responsibility or is that
Nope, I take care of that.
you're on our policies?
I am not on your policies. I pay at my own policy. So for the 7 vehicles, our insurance is $24,000 a year that we pay for.
Well, I think we owe you a vote of thanks for your vision and implementation
thank you.
because it's a major undertaking for the whole county.
For sure. Ground up.
I absolutely, yeah, I don't know how I'm quite doing it, but the last year at this time, I was 100% director job, and now I'm maybe 10% director, 90% public transportation. So somehow I'm getting it done. I have the best coworkers in the world, so you can't beat it. They're not in it to be, I mean, they start at $10 an hour, which is embarrassing, but once we get to 2026, I'm hoping to increase that substantially, because they're worth double that for the care that they take with the people. And
Anything else?
all right, thank you. Those extra.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
He gets here, yeah.
Thanks for your job like that.
Absolutely.
He is not here.
You're not here. Not
For the
supposed to be.
9:15 is when he's scheduled until 9.
You know, some of their stuff would be done.
You know, as county attorney, see if you anything else in either.
Nothing today.
You didn't help any.
I'm sorry?
Didn't. I'm going to my stuff.
Yes, please do.
Let's try to do it slowly, give me time to get there. I mean, I kind of have an idea what he's going to say. His stances on the committee, he might know too, but
Well, if you got stuff, then go ahead and knock that out.
yeah.
If you're not here, just skip it.
Well, he's scheduled at 9:15, so we're
Ahead of
running a little ahead. Go ahead to auditor report.
Finish your point.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you should have received transfers, amended salary ordinance, and additional appropriations. Let's start with the transfers, because that's usually pretty simple. Oops.
I'll move to approve all transfers.
Fred, did you second that?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Just the thing.
Moved and seconded to the transfers. All those in favor? Opposed?
Okay. And on the salary ordinance, Shelley and I are on there only because we didn't do that last month. I think we did the additional appropriation. Now we're doing the amended salary ordinance. You've already figured on all that. And the other one is a new chief deputy in the recorder's office. I think you had already discussed that when Tom was here too. So those are the 3 salary ordinance.
Motion to accept the salary ordinance. Well, that's the amended, right? The amended salary.
Second. John and Bob. Okay.
Moved and seconded to approve the amended salary ordinances. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, and finally, we have additional appropriations. If you remember, I don't remember if Mark actually came to discuss this or not. But there are additional amounts for plan commission and planning and zoning. And the reason behind that is they literally are facing more lawsuits than normal. One big lawsuit. So there's not going to be enough in there. Hopefully that thing is rectified sooner rather than later. That is why we need the additional in legal fees and services. And I believe that is Pat Hess. Correct. So that's Pat Hess representing that. The other ones in the health, I think that might have been discussed as well. It's under the Health First Indiana. Recorder's perk, I believe, was already discussed. And that is for the salary range you just did for Aaron. This is an additional appropriation out of his perk fund. It's not county fund, it's his own recorder's perk fund that he's going to take care of that for training.
Why wouldn't that be a transfer?
Because, what? The recorder's perk?
Yeah, if it's taken out of his.
I don't think he can't, he's not transferring, he is appropriating it out of his perk fund. It's not gonna be transferred from anything else. He would only be able to be transferred from perk to perk, and why would you do that? This is simply appropriating the money
Oh, okay.
out of that fund. There's nothing there to transfer from.
So
Is that correct, Rick?
I don't have an issue on any of those, other than I just want to, I guess, maybe ask a question probably for Bree on the Plan Commission and the BZA. I don't have a problem with the appropriation, but the submission says that the cash balance only has like 2,200 and the other one has 989. So are we going to appropriate them into the Red-On accident?
So, I understand. I'm assuming those numbers are probably what is the balance of the line item. So that's why he's asking. So the cash balance of the fund should have been how much is in county general.
Okay, both of those
He
are
put
county
the line
generals.
items. I think they're either assets balances or they're in the red right now because they've paid their invoices.
But they're both county general funds, so we don't have an actual cash balance problem. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Need a motion? That's additional appropriations. Need a motion and a second to approve the additional appropriations?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Yep. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Sign first or last? You want to sign them first and then send them around, or you want me to send them around and you sign them last?
All of us have them.
Just don't forget. Remember, there are three different pages for you to sign on. Make sure you sign 3.
But the last thing. Don't have after either.
And unless there's other matters.
Ian's got a long distance to come, so it's probably where he's in transit now.
Stan, is Ian discussing something that involves JR? Do you know? I think he was going to talk about what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I know, he's coming back and Ian's coming back to help present, the recommendations for that.
Okay.
You know, they're gonna, I guess I asked them to do it in this meeting, because I knew we'd be subject to, and so that way we could all, but. And we would let have the opportunity.
Short day.
Ask if anybody's got any other matter. Somebody.
We can go to the next item on the agenda, other matters properly presented.
Dan, you're usually good at filling out 5 or 10 minutes. What you got?
The biggest thing coming our way is the IREX program coming into the jail, which is a reentry program for people who are being released from the jail. It's working with the courts. It's a state grant. It's a $380,000 grant. And what it's doing is preparing people when they get released. It's helping them assist with jobs, housing. It's done by peer coaches. So these That's dealing a lot with the mental health and substance use disorders of our inmates as they get out, making sure they're hooked up with their services as they get out. And this starts from basically once they're arrested, they'll get evaluated and the process starts. If they get, for minor crimes, if they get released, they stay with them for 30 days once they get out. They can be sentenced to prison. This is something that we've working with Judge Conrad, Judge Kuhlheim, to where, let's say they get sent away from prison for 5 years. Well, instead of being released right from prison back out on the streets without any sentences, they will sometimes do a sentence modification or be original sentences. The last 3 months of their sentence has to be done at the local jail. So then they can re-engage with these people, give services, make sure they have insurance, help them get a job, all that stuff. So when they get out, they're floating right back into society and hopefully not back into the same habits they were in before. So we are the 8th or the 9th jail in the state doing this. There's an initial 7 jails in the first wave trial for 2 years, and the results have been phenomenal. Recidivism rate has just dropped immensely. It's been very, very good. Rob Parker is kind of heading this up. There's staff that has to be hired. This is all done through the grant. It's really no expense to the county as of right now. It'll be kind of like a 2-year grant, and then we might have to absorb some costs. But then we're going to see the benefits of it and what it's actually saving us from people coming back into the jail. So, like I said, Delaware County is one of the large ones. Scott County down south is a smaller one. It's been really good. The peer recovery coaches coming into the jail, they're spending time with them every day if they want. It's just it's a neat program. Judge Conrad, I was starting to work on that already. Judge Conrad was out at a conference in California and talked to the person who leads it here, and he calls me. He called it something else. I said, Judge, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And then I said, well, this is what I'm learning. He goes, oh, it's the same thing. So we're just really looking forward to it, but hopefully we'll be active November 1st. Like I said, there's about 3 or 4 staff members that officially have to get hired. We're waiting to see the contract too, which we bring to the commissioners. And like I said, there's really no cost to us in the first couple of years. So we'll have to see what the cost will be. But that's the biggest thing we've been working on in the jail recently. I still have my problems with plumbing. Again, I see the problem here.
He had learned to write. I texted him. He's
I
going to
text them also. So, you guys have any questions about it? It's a 2-way street. We'll kill the time.
Yeah, that might be DOT, the Department of Corrections.
Actually, it's for the NHI, the Mental Health Institute. But that's the grants coming through the.
What LIRAC stand for?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Indiana first.
I know.
Recovery. And.
That's what I did.
I don't know that. I don't know. No, sir.
Yeah, we went to that meeting.
I get IRACs and JRACs and DOC has too many acronyms.
Hey, Sheriff.
Yes.
Sure, that's it.
Travis, remember the Judge talked about yesterday, was this, when they did our court mapping, that was one of the things that they recommended was a jail navigator. And this fulfills that whole system of having a jail navigator.
Correct. Indiana Court Services come in and basically kind of do a wash down of our judicial system from time of arrest through everything through the probation and release. And that is one of the things that is becoming very popular as we go into through these peer recovery coaches and some of these other positions that are being filled. That job is being fulfilled. They will coordinate with the other services I provide through QCC, Adams Behavioral Health, who I also have coming in and doing services. They will get together so we're not being redundancy. We're not duplicating the same work. So we'll break it down once we get in there. Okay, you guys are going to do this, we're going to do this. And like I said, it's been a phenomenal success in the other jails that have been doing this. With other sheriffs, I mean, Delaware County, they and I'm not saying this is what needs here, but they so enjoyed it after the first year that they basically signed over a old school that the county owns to them, so they can use for offices and meetings and stuff like that. We're small, don't have that need yet. I think they have, I don't know, 700 in their jail. We have 80 in our jail. So we're not at the same scale as those, but it's a program that really will take off. And linking back to the transportation, some of those people I know getting out of jail are using that for transportation now for jobs and stuff, getting to rehab classes, counseling that they would never been able to do before, not do it. So transportation is a blessing for the people who come out of jail because they don't have licenses yet, stuff like that. So it's keeping them employed. We've had employers paying for that. And not even the employees, their bosses are paying for that because they know it gets them to work. So that transportation is huge for us in this area.
And then, Sheriff Mayborg, it's integrated reentry and correctional support. It's an IRAX program for the peer recovery folks.
Did you get that?
So it's like Sheriff Mayborg was saying, it's a navigating program. It's going to help them with post-incarceration 30 days. Navigators are really big right now. It's connecting to communities. I know Rob has been going through the community and asking about local resources. We just presented my team as well. Yeah.
And really recovery coach too, a lot of them are covering substance use disorders themselves. So they can relate, the people in the jail can relate to them. It's not like me saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. I don't live that life. These guys get in their face, call them out for BS, and have galvanized type meetings with these people because they shared those experiences. And it's just been a very positive thing in the 7 Tesla counties in the past. Ian, yeah, I was just giving you a time.
And you look good on television.
You didn't even go there.
21 loves that little song. I see it every day.
All right. A second just to get organized. So you could still be in morning over Michigan. Michigan. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, well, it's gonna be one of those years, Tony. All right, thanks for having me. I'm here today to give you an update on the opioid settlement steering committee's recommendations for this year. Just to kind of give you a recap, last year, the commissioners asked the JRAC committee to start steering committee to make recommendations to the commissioners and council as to how we feel the opioid settlement money could be best used in our community. And as you remember, starting 2 years ago, I believe it was, we started getting an annual amount to the county to be used on that settlement. I will say this, from what I've seen and heard from other community corrections and JRAC committees, there's a lot of scrutiny going around the state of Indiana as to how this money is being dispersed by counties, and a lot of people are being accused of good old boy clubs and such of how the money is being used. And this steering committee truly took to heart what we could do for our community the best ways possible to use this money. So I don't think we'll be receiving any scrutiny from anybody as regards to how Adams County is using the money. So for 2024, the steering committee is recommending that up to $125,000 out of the settlement money be used to help fund the initial phase of that IRAX program that Sheriff Mayborg was just talking about. In addition to that, the committee came up with some things that we felt maybe we were lacking in Adams County that this money could be used for. And those different categories included evidence-based prevention programs in schools, recovery housing and programming in Adams County, and greater access to mental health and substance use disorder treatment for adults and youth in Adams County. A grant was created, and that grant was dispersed among interested parties who wanted to apply for this money. We received 4 grants back
And we reviewed those grants to make sure that they fit within our category. And then on August 29th, the committee met and went through the grants and made our final recommendation. So here they are. We're recommending that out of the opioid settlement money, $5,000 be given to Crossroads Community Recovery Housing for individuals who are coming out of incarceration and don't have jobs to pay their rent when they first get there. Obviously, Crossroads has been a big help for several community corrections participants and others coming out of incarceration that need housing or need to be in a recovery program. And they expect them to get a job, but obviously when they first come out of incarceration, they don't have one. And so that we're recommending that $5,000 be used by Crossroads to help offset those costs. The recommendation is $10,142.46 to be granted to Adams Memorial Behavioral Health for substance use treatment and mental health treatment in Adams County. Baltimore from Behavioral Health is here, and he can speak if you have any questions, but I believe that the purpose of that money is to help uninsured have access to care. And I think that's very much needed in our community. And then lastly, $21,762.50 to be granted to North Adams Community Schools to be used to start and train an officer for the DARE program that you used to see in schools years ago. And Kim Hyatt from North Adams has requested to get something back going again because we continue to see drug use in our youth at younger and younger ages all the time.
How much was that?
It was $21,762.50. And so that was the recommendation of the committee. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have or anything about the process or anything else I can do.
I might have missed it in there, but so the last one was for Norway, you said? Or for North Adams, I mean, sorry. And then would that same person also help with South Adams and Adams Central, or would it just be?
There was some talk about not like an officer could be trained for countywide if the other schools bought into the idea. At this time, I know Kim was in discussion with Chief Gerber from Decatur Police about getting a Decatur officer trained in DARE, but at this point, I don't know that she has a specific person identified. And then I also spoke to the sheriff to see if the sheriff's department had anyone that might be interested. And so who that person might be, I don't think has been determined yet.
How do you evaluate all of this effort by way of the settlement money?
I don't know if there's any specific evaluation process in place at this point in time. Tony, are you aware of anything? Tony, I know Tony and Bree report back to, who do you report to? State?
Somebody in the Attorney General's office.
So at the Attorney General's office, but I don't think there's any specific
It
evaluation.
just has to fit their guidelines as to what you.
Right, and that is this probably 15 or 20 page document here. 15 pages is a list of all the different categories that the monies can be used for in the restricted category. And if you remember that money is divided into a restricted and an unrestricted fund. We pretty much have granted for restricted reasons, like reasons that fit the restricted category only. I don't think we've ever really had a discussion about what if somebody wants to use unrestricted money. So I guess that would be up to you.
Well, I know they pay attention to it because I got an email on Friday that someone, I don't know who, they didn't say, had entered their information and put Adams County as incorrectly.
Yeah.
So we had to send them the original email, I think, that we got on how much we were receiving and stuff where they had occurred, but it has since been rectified and everything is fine now, so I know they're paying attention.
And just so you know, and this could be different now because I have an email from Bree from back in June and back on June 4th, there was $202,594.46 in the restricted fund and $110,938.86 in the unrestricted fund. Again, I don't know if that's changed.
I can say for Adams Behavioral Health, what we're going to try tracking is age group because that was something that was really discuss, like with adolescents, because we see as young as 3 and, so whenever they can't understand counseling or don't require medication management, we're probably going to indicate like reasons for funds, like, what were they seeking for? Is it because no insurance, poor insurance? Because even if we have, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, they can't afford some of their co-pays because they have to take care of family, And then another thing we'll probably track is like primary, secondary diagnosis, and then track what services we're providing for those funds, because how we wrote out our grant, it's not only for counseling, but it was for medication management, so they can see a medication or a nurse practitioner for medication.
It looks like I've got the breakdown year by year as to how much we receive, and it's about $36,000 a year right now. And that there's no pattern. Each year it changes slightly, all the way out through 2038. This is for how long we'll be receiving this money. So, and I know Tony has told me that there are some other settlements that are coming out, so that there could be more money, there could be different requirements. It's
There was a Kroger one that I think we opted into, but not sure when or
and we don't know how much.
and that's not as big.
Right. Because it might be as Purdue Farmer, right? Yeah, so.
So what's your mechanism to make sure, you grant somebody this X amount of dollars to make sure they're spending it?
So last year, Crossroads Community received the full amount that was asked for. They were the only agency that applied for the money, and the commissioners put stipulations in that, they had to be open for business. They were just getting started when they asked for the money. And so they didn't just write them a check and say, here you go. They waited and required you to have a house before they would grant them, and they broke it into 2 different categories. So, but to answer your question, not specifically.
Yeah, didn't we also with that, didn't they get half of upfront, prove that they had things up and going before they could be eligible to get the second half?
Yes.
So that's kind of done on a case-by-case basis, depending what the request is.
I think there was a stipulation that they kind of report to the commissioners on how it's working. Was that quarterly?
At least the next day.
Twice a year or something? I can't
And I
remember.
know, like, for North Adams, like, they're not going to request this money until they have staff in place. There's only so many trainings per year that they have available for officers, so I don't expect them coming, after this money is appropriated and go after for the check until they've actually got the process in place, so.
I was just saying, in some cases, you're gonna have probably something that's pretty clear cut, others maybe not, and having some type of audit process.
We can certainly
Just wondering.
draw something up for sure. Any other questions?
And Ian, how much money are we getting in opioid money overall per year? What's the total accounted yet?
I can let you take a screenshot of this breakdown that I
When
have
the
there
bottom
because
line.
it changes every year.
What
So
was last year?
it's about 36,000 a year.
Okay. Okay, that's good enough.
An obvious question for me is what happens when the money runs out?
We won't give it.
One less job responsibility for me, Dennis.
There was another opioid settlement.
Yeah, I mean, there's more coming, so,
There'll be another round.
and with IRAC starting, it may be an easy decision in the future that the money goes towards the IRACs program if it's successful and proves that, it's a necessary thing in our community. Make life a lot easier, because I'll tell you, I'm going through these grants and trying to decide who's not going to get funded and how much we're going to cut from here and there. It's no fun. I mean, all of the grantees have great concepts and ideas. So,
Dennis, Dennis may be referring to, for example, North Adams care office.
I understand.
If this gets spent, the county is not going to be on the dome to
No,
cover
and
it.
we made it clear to everyone when they applied, like this, just because you're getting funded this year doesn't mean you're getting next year. Each year we have a process, and our committee may identify other areas within that 15-page document of what can be used for restricted funds that we want to focus on. But we knew, I see at the risk program at Community Corrections, our out-of-school suspension program, younger and younger and younger kids coming for vaping and getting caught with THC vapes at school. And there's clearly an obvious need for something to get put into the schools to get these kids educated onto the harmful effects of using drugs, period. So once we get that up and going, and maybe we'll see a change and the trend will go different, and we'll look at doing something different with the money in the future.
Stan?
And,
I'm Ann Razzo. I sit on the advisory committee that helps assess the grant applicants for distribution and recommendations to council commissioners for distribution of the opioid settlement money. And with regard to North Adams application, the breakdown of their expenses that create the $21,000 cost request included training for an officer, which is anticipated to be a one-time expense. And that exceeded more than $6,000, $7,000 of their application. And the remainder of it constituted the programming expenses for age-based, kind of like K through 2, 3 through 5, middle school and high school educational programs that the trained officer would then be applying throughout the school year. So in terms, Mr. Bloom, in terms of your question about the funding, with one big assumption being that that officer remains with the department, that training expense would not necessarily be an annual requirement. And so any costs related to the programming would then be limited to the materials and what that is a concern. That is an ongoing expense that does need to be taken into consideration. And then with regard to the overall amount of money that the settlement and the advisory committee helps oversee in terms of distribution, right now the only settlement that is being considered is from Purdue Pharma. There are several in the works, one being Kroger, one being CVS. My understanding that the county and the state of Indiana have opted into almost any of the federal class action suits, and then it's up to the individual counties to opt in with the state in order to be eligible to receive any of those distribution funds. And from Purdue alone, there was a one-time lump sum payment made to the county, and then annual structured settlements nearing the 36,000 or roughly around 30 to 36,000 annually for the next 19 years. Thank you.
She's a much better spokesperson than I am. I sit up here.
Mr. Crowell?
Weren't you a DARE officer
Yes,
back in the day?
I'm glad it's kind of being brought back in.
I was sitting in my office today and I can still recall from when I was a kid what DARE stands for, drug abuse resistance education, right? And so, that was a long time ago.
yeah, we had,
Yeah. I don't know, I remember a whole lot from elementary school, but I still remember what DARE was and what it stood for. So,
If there's any opportunity in next year or anything to try and see if we can move that over to South Adams and AC too, I think that'd be
love to
great.
see it. It's something it's a separate group, separate pot of money, but Drug Free Adams County is granting money this year to North Adams, Adams Central, and South Adams to initiate chapters, subcommittees of Drug Free Adams County within their school system. So all three school systems are starting or restarting a Drug Free Adams County chapter at both middle school and high school level, which will be the first time we've ever had that. And we're providing, Drug Free Adams County is providing a small stipend to the individual within the school that is going to lead that group and entice to get somebody to do it. So we're that group, Drug Free Adams County, separate from the opioid settlement, but still with the same vision, like let's get more going in these schools. So.
Stan, you had a comment?
Well, just to kind of put the whole thing in perspective from our standpoint, when the class action lawsuit came down and we realized there was going to be money and so the commissioners and council to decide what to do with it. And in my mind, the best people that deal with this on an everyday basis was the JRAC committee, which consists of community corrections through Ian and the other people on that committee. And then we also asked Dan to sit in as an additional advisor. And so, they've just put in so many hours of work to study the monies that are available and how can we put them to best use in this committee to do what it's supposed to do. So as a commissioner, I really, really appreciate all the work that Ian's done and the whole committee has done to put this money to work in Adams County.
Any other comments for Ian?
Thank you, Ian.
So I think we just need the council to take action and appropriate that money.
How do you know if that's necessary?
Just approve your plan for
Yes.
spending. Okay, I make a motion
I
to,
don't think we
that was submitted.
I think normally, don't you go before commissioners?
Yeah, we'll go, yeah, kind of have the cart before the horse here today, but I'll be coming back with commissioners here later today, so.
Any other comments?
Who was it, John, and who?
The vote.
I think it's, we still need to vote on that?
You didn't need to vote on that.
Well, they're just approving the uses that they're putting it toward, and they're gonna have to go to the commissioners as well at the next meeting, so. You have a motion and a second on the floor. It's not appropriating, it's just approving what JVAC decided on the recommendations.
I think it would appropriate that money pending commissioner's approval also.
They didn't do the additional appropriation paperwork, so they can't appropriate it right now. We just need them.
If it needs appropriate, you have to do that next month.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Has to be advertised.
Later.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll move to adjourn. To adjourn.
Yeah.
So good.
Second.
Student five, Fred second.
Yep.
506.
Have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stay.